House will please be in order. Those not having privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber. Members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer today by the gentleman from the 62nd, Delegate Bibby.
Dear Heavenly Father, we humbly stand before you today and thank you for the opportunity to do your work. We ask that you lay your hands upon us and guide us while we advocate for the citizens of West Virginia who have entrusted us to do the right and just thing. We also ask, O Lord, for wisdom, strength, and perseverance, as we are all in need of those attributes and know we sometimes fall short. Please bless our families, friends, and all those who seek your guidance. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Members and guests will please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by the gentleman from the 17th, Delegate Lovejoy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will our members and guests in the galleries join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Charleston, Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019.
Gentleman from the 16th, Delegate Mant.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read.
Gentleman from the 16th, ask unanimous consent that further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection, so ordered. Introduction to guests. Gentleman 21st, Delegate Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we're pleased to have Mingo County 4-H with us today. Representing the 4-H for Mingo is Associate Professor at WVU and Mingo County 4-H Agent Mark Whipp. Adult leaders Pam Hager, Brandy Thacker, Teresa Smith, Stella Brumfield, Deborah Starr, Chuck Spalding, Lynn Bias, and students from the following schools: Kermit K-8, Mate 1 K-8, Williamson K-8, Mingo Central, and Tug Valley High School. Friends, please make these students and adults feel welcome.
Gentleman 25th, Delegate Painter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself, Delegate Porterfield, Delegate Ellington, and Delegate Schott, I'd like to welcome the Mercer County 4-H delegation. From Pikeview Middle, Miss Tori Lilly. From Athens Middle, or Athens, Sophia Setliff. Chance Prophet from Princeton Middle. Luke Hatfield from Princeton Middle. Nicole Shrewsbury is one of their parents, and they are chaperoned by Brenda Pruitt and Carl Pruitt. If you'd all stand and let's give them a big house welcome.
Gentleman from the 48th, Delegate Hamrick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of all the members from the 48th District, we have a group of professional firefighters from the Clarksburg Fire Department and the Bridgeport Fire Department here in the rear gallery. If they'd please stand, the House make them welcome.
Gentleman from the 1st, Delegate McGeehan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Paging with us today, all the way up from Hancock County, the Fighting 1st District, is Andrew Byers, 7th grade at Weir Middle School, and I believe his mother, Jill Byers, is in the South Gallery. If she'll stand, and will the House please make them feel welcome?
Gentleman 16th, Delegate Mant.
Good morning. I would like to introduce in the South Gallery active and retired firefighters from Huntington, Local 289. If they would please stand in the House, make them feel welcome. Thank you.
Lady from the 39th, Delegate Malcolm.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, representing the AARP, would you make Rich Stone Street feel welcome today? Thank you.
Gentleman from the 29th, Delegate Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Several guests here today. I'd like to recognize Luke Begovich. He's here with the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners from my district, District 29. And on behalf of the delegates from the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, and 32nd districts, I'd like to welcome from the Professional Firefighters of West Virginia, two of our Beckley firefighters, Rick Fisher and Mark Brasky, in the gallery today. Please make them feel welcome. Thank you.
Gentleman 27th, Delegate Porterfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, we'd like to welcome local firefighters Scott Dingus, Chief Jeremy Fox, Chief Chad Bailey, Charlie Croy, Corey Vest, and Alec Gano. Please welcome.
Gentleman 35th, Delegate Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the delegates from the 35th District, I'd like to introduce AARP volunteer Jane Marks. Would she please stand and the House make you feel welcome?
Lady from 51st, Delegate Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like myself and all the delegates from the 51st District to please give a warm welcome to our Morgantown firefighters, IAFF Local 313. Jason Nice Warner, please stand up. Derek Porter, please stand up. Tad Dalton, please take a stand. And Nick Morris. Let's give these guys a warm welcome.
Gentleman 35th, Delegate Scaff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my colleagues, I too as well would like to introduce our professional firefighters from the 35th District in all of Kanawha County. First, from the Dunbar Fire Department, Zach McGinnis, please stand. T.W. Hinman, Josh Bowers from the Dunbar Fire Department. From the South Charleston Fire Department, Chief Virgil White, Matt Kessler, and Charlie Nature Boy Wilson. Please make him feel welcome.
Gentleman number 10th, Delegate Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to commend all of the firefighters in the gallery today and thank them for putting their lives on the line for all of the residents and citizens of the state of West Virginia. Those of us from the District 10 are proud to have in the gallery today members of our Professional Firefighters Union in Parkersburg, Carl Nestor, Josh Gandy, and our Chief Jason Matthews. If they'd stand, please, and the House make them feel welcome.
Gentleman the 60th, Delegate Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my great honor today in the name of the delegates from Berkeley County to introduce my good friends, some of the people who put their lives on the line for us every day. Mr. Jason Gokenauer, Mr. Mark Stroop, Mr. Jim Miller, Mr. Kenny Bowers, Mr. Kelly Bowers, Mr. Steve Shawyer, and Mr. Tom Newcomb, some of our firefighters. Thank you very much.
Gentleman the first, Delegate Schwartzmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have paging with us today Paige Reed from Weir High School from the top of the state, Hancock County. Ask her to stand in the House, make her welcome, and give her a little bit of work today. Thank you.
Gentleman 24th, Delegate Rodriguero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Tomlin and myself, we have a gentleman from Man. He's going to kind of be our intern for today. His name is Jacob Fry. We also have two pages. We have one from Man Elementary, Matt Collins, and we also have Kayla Collins from Man Middle, and she's accompanied by their mother, Jill Collins. Would the floors please make them welcome? Thank you.
Gentleman 19th, Delegate Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and Delegate Hicks, we have 3 pages from CK Elementary, Cerrito Canova Elementary. If they would please stand up. They are Corbin Smith, John Henry Stepp, and Caden Willis. Please give them a round of applause.
Gentleman from the 17th, Delegate Lovejoy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, we have today a special guest and constituent student of Marshall University. She's here today with her dad, Shelby Nicholas. Shelby, you stand up and be recognized. Make her feel welcome.
Lady from the 51st, Delegate Fleshour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As most of you know, today is WVU Day at the Legislature, and I would like to ask everyone who is a graduate or who has a child who is a graduate of WVU or a close relative or all of the above to please stand, and would the House congratulate all these people.
Lady from the 42nd, Delegate Lavender Bowe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and Delegate Campbell, I'd like to welcome our page from Eastern Greenbrier Middle School today, Miss Stella Baldwin. Please stand. House, make her very welcome. And in the West Gallery, she's accompanied by her mother and small business owner, Mary Baldwin.
Gentleman from the 42nd, Delegate Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Lavender Bowe and myself, we'd like to welcome another page from Eastern Greenbrier Middle School. She would please stand. Please welcome Lauren Rogers. And she is chaperoned today by her mother up here in the West Gallery, one of my colleagues from Greenbrier County Schools. Please welcome Christy Clemens Rogers.
Gentleman from the 20th, Delegate Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, on behalf of myself, Delegates Tomlin and Delegate Rodriguerio, we have 6 pages from Holden Elementary in Logan County. Their names are Ian Deskin, Koya Bradshaw, Jake Gollihue, Layla Skaggs, Abigail Hager, and Maddox Beavers. They're chaperoned and accompanied by their parents who are in the West Gallery. If they would stand up, please, and the House recognize them and make them welcome. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 50th, Delegate Angelucci.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have 2 introductions here this morning. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Gary Wick, a volunteer with AARP from Marion County. I'd also like to recognize Lorette Woodrum, an EMT with Marion County Rescue Squad, and I'd like to thank her for her service to the citizens of Marion and Mon County. I ask the House to make them feel welcomed.
Gentleman from the 3rd, Douglas Fluharty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, we have some good friends of mine from Local Union 12, firefighters, that they would stand when I say their name. Tom Halisak, Nate Vapner, Nick Brown, Dave Harmon, Jason Milton, Ryan Tufel, Mike Haney, Chris Haney, Andy Joltz, and Bob Heldreth. And if I missed any of you, stand up anyway. Give them a round of applause.
Are there further introductions of guests? Reports of standing committees.
Committee on Education has had under consideration House Bill 2378 relating generally to grounds for revocation of a teaching certificate. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Education is originating House Bill 2662 providing for the automatic termination of a service personnel employment contract and the automatic revocation of a bus driver certificate if the employee or bus driver are convicted of certain crimes. It's reported with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2203, West Virginia Contractor Licensing Act. Reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2353, allowing purchase of hardware items and equipment for statewide road systems. from a local seller rather than the holder of a state contract, reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2514, permitting pawnbrokers to disclose whether any specific property has been sold or pledged, reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Veterans Affairs and Homeland Security has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 10, Resiliency Week, reports the same back with recommendation that it be adopted, that it be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Report to be received. Resolution be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Committee on Finance has had under consideration House Joint Resolution 17, Business, Inventory, Machinery, and Equipment Tax Exemption Amendment, reports the same back with amendment with recommendation that it be adopted, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Resolution be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Finance has had under consideration House Joint Resolution 18, Property Tax Relief for Seniors and Disabled Veterans Amendment, reports the same back with amendment with recommendation that it be adopted, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Resolution be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Finance has had under consideration House Bill 2191, relating generally to limited video lottery, reports back committee substitute therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Judiciary has had originating House Concurrent Resolution 24, requesting the West Virginia Legislative Oversight Commission on Health and Human Resources to research, study, and make recommendations regarding a state-administered wholesale prescription drug importation program. It's reported with recommendation that it be adopted, that it be referred to Committee on Rules.
Report to be received. Resolution be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Committee on Judiciary has had in consideration House Bill 2083, providing an identification card for released inmates who do not have a West Virginia identification card or driver's license, reports back committee substitute therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitute do pass and that the second reference to the Committee on Finance be dispensed with.
Report to be received. Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, the two chairs have conferred on this matter, and I now ask unanimous consent that the second reference of the bill to the Committee on Finance be dispensed with.
Lady in the 49th, I ask unanimous consent that the second reference of House Bill 2083 to the Committee on Finance be dispensed with. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears no objection, so ordered. Next bill on next committee report.
Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 119, specifying documents not subject to discovery in certain proceedings, Senate Bill 272, updating code relating to Commission on Special Investigations, Committee substitute for Senate Bill 17, relating to probation eligibility, and House Bill 2602, including possession of known stolen property in the offense of receiving or transferring stolen property, reports the same back with recommendation that each do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Small Business, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development has had in consideration House Bill 2550, creating a matching program for the Small Business Innovation and Research Program and the Small Business Technology Transfer Program, reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Finance.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Committee on Small Business, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development has had in consideration House Bill 2478, modifying the Fair Trade Practices Act, reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary. Further committee reports. Reports of select committees. Messages from the executive. Messages from the Senate.
Clerk of the Senate announces the passage by the Senate of Senate Bill 1, increasing access to career education and workforce training.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Education, then the Committee on Finance.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 18, relating to crimes committed on state capitol complex.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 255, relating to Emergency Medical Services Advisory Committee.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 354, expiring funds to balance of Auditor's Office, Chief Inspector's Fund.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Finance. Resolutions.
House Concurrent Resolution 30, Thomas Brothers Memorial Bridge.
Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with and that they be considered as formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system.
The lady in the 49th asked unanimous consent that further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with and that each resolution be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Petitions, motions, bills introduced.
House Bill 2013, providing a bonus for teachers willing to teach in certain critical needs areas.
Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with and that they be considered as formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system.
The lady from the 49th asked unanimous consent that further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with and that each bill be considered as having been formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Unfinished business. Bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2005, Broadband Expansion Act of 2019.
Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to postpone action for one day.
Lady from the 49th asked unanimous consent that committee substitute for House Bill 2005 be postponed one day. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2346, changing the licensing requirement for certain casino employees.
Gentleman from the 56th, Delegate Howell, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to change the naming term requirement for certain casino employees from licensure to registration. The regulation of certain casino employees is more similar to registration than licensure. The bill simply corrects the classification. It does not change any policy or function. All agency rules continue, and lottery may continue to issue licenses or registrations as before. The rules are updated. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, 96 ayes, 2 nays, 2 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2346.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2360, placing the Athletic Commission under the Lottery Commission.
Gentleman from the 56th, Delegate Howell, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to place the Athletic Commission under the control of the Lottery Commission. The Athletic Commission is already located in the Lottery Commission building, and Lottery also already provides the Commission with the necessary administrative support and management. The bill does not change any policy and makes it clear that the current board members may continue to serve. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? Not the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, 96 ayes, 2 nays, 2 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2360.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2412, relating to criminal acts concerning government procurement of commodities and services.
Gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Schott, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning. Currently, employees of the Division of Purchasing are subject to criminal penalty for certain procurement crimes, such as self-dealing, defrauding the state, preferential treatment to vendors, conspiring to lessen competition among vendors, and similar crimes. What this bill does is make any procurement authority, not just the Division of Purchasing, subject to the same prohibitions. It accomplishes this by basically removing those prohibitions from Chapter 5A and transferring them over to Chapter 61, where all the other crimes are located. The procurement authority is defined in this bill as any individual with authority for procurement of commodities or services on behalf of a governmental entity. The governmental entity is further defined as any department, agency, similar entity within any branch of government of the state of West Virginia. It also clarifies that change orders are permissible so long as the intent is to serve the best interest of the governmental entity, not to defraud, receive personal benefit, or circumvent competitive bidding. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. 98 ayes, 0 nays, 2 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2412.
Are there amendments to the title?
Delegate Schott moves to amend the title.
Question before the House is the adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of the title amendment will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Ayes have it, the title amendment is adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2422 relating to the time for the observation of Celebrate Freedom Week.
Gentleman from the 48th, Delegate Hamrick, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill allows the county boards of education to select the week to be designated as Celebrate Freedom Week. This is a week during classes are taught to, sorry. This is a week during which classes are taught that concentrate on historical documents, context, and background surrounding the foundation of the nation. The bill also adds the Emancipation Proclamation to the list of historical documents to be covered. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? Gentleman from the first, Delegate McGeehan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chair yield for a question?
Chair does yield.
Was this the bill we passed out, I think it was last year, that mandated Freedom Week, teach certain documents during the week that fell during September 11th?
Yes, it is. And just a little context, I think the purpose of the bill was basically, I guess there was a requirement also in federal law that these same documents be taught, but it was possibly construed there was a different time of the year, so the same thing was having to be taught at 2 different weeks during the year. So this just allows the county board to select which week they want to teach it.
And what are the additional documents that are being added?
The only thing added to the bill was the Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay, thank you.
Are there further members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. 98 ayes, 0 nays, 2 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2422.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read, but the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2459, exercising authority to exempt individuals domiciled within the state from certain restrictions contained in federal law.
Gentleman 27th, Delegate Schott, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 1996, Congress passed legislation that imposed a lifetime ban on benefits from the SNAP program for people who have been convicted of a drug-related felony. Although the federal legislation imposes a lifetime ban, the legislation also permits states to opt out of the ban. At this point, 47 states have modified that ban or opted out of this lifetime ban altogether. The only 3 remaining states are West Virginia, South Carolina, and Mississippi. Please keep in mind, though, that this is a ban only for drug-related felonies. Murderers, rapists, arsonists, any other felony convictions, if you're otherwise eligible, can participate in this federal government-sponsored program. However, if you're convicted of a drug-related felony, you're banned for life. The bill before you would permit West Virginia residents that have been convicted of a drug felony to receive SNAP benefits if they otherwise qualify for those benefits. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? Gentleman from the 55th, Delegate Spinagle.
Will the chairman yield?
Chairman does yield.
Yes.
I notice the title says domicile. Can you tell me the difference between domicile and residency real quickly?
My understanding is that the DHHR rules would govern that, so I'll give you my understanding, but I think you'd have to refer to those rules. I think the testimony before our committee is that they verify a valid West Virginia address. and the person has to provide information that they intend to reside in West Virginia as their domicile and provide a permanent address. Not a post office box, a permanent address.
I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Are there further members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. 98 ayes, 0 nays, 2 members absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2459.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read, but the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2462, issuing a certificate to correctional employees to carry firearms.
Gentleman from the 35th, Doug Capito, to explain the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For those of you that were here last year, you'll recall that we had a large reorganization bill that dealt with the Department of Corrections. The new name of that division is the Division of Corrections and Rehabilitation. The bill before you seeks to fill a gap that was missed last year that would allow, upon the discretion of the Commissioner, that would allow correctional officers to carry firearms after they satisfy various requirements in order to do so. Again, at the discretion of the Commissioner, an officer may carry a firearm if they've received the standard law enforcement training, certification by the Commissioner. They may carry the firearm in the duties performed, and also they can travel to and from work. That's the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. 98 ayes, 0 nays, 2 members absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2462.
Are there amendments to the title?
Committee on Judiciary moves amend the title.
Question before the House is the adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of the title amendment will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it, the chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Are there further bills on third reading? Bills on second reading.
House Bill 2009, creating a new category of innovation and education grant program.
Are there amendments? Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2435, authorizing Attorney General to prosecute violations of state criminal law recommended by the Commission on Special Investigations.
Are there amendments? Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2446, Blue Alert Plan.
Are there amendments? Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2509, clarifying that theft of a controlled substance is a felony.
Are there amendments? No. Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2527, relating to forgery and other crimes concerning lottery tickets.
Are there amendments? Bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on second reading? Bills on first reading.
House Bill 2036, permitting vehicles displaying disabled veteran special registration plates to park in places where persons with mobility impairments may park.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2209, allowing military veterans who meet certain qualifications to qualify for examination for a license as an emergency medical technician.
Bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2547, relating to the election prohibition zone.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2600, relating to publication of sample ballots.
Bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on first reading? Leaves of absence. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, for our colleagues C. Thompson and Boggs.
Without objection, leaves will be granted. Chair sees no objection. Remarks by members of the House. Gentleman from the 30th, Delegate Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Weed, pot, grass, dope, reefer, joint. Things I don't particularly like or support, and I would think that the majority of the people in this room are not in favor of. Words are powerful things, and when spoken out loud, conjure up certain images in our heads that are hard to misplace. Images like the stoner and the pothead. Images and words like recreational marijuana. I'd suggest, because of words and images, this body is losing sight of an opportunity that is obvious when we use different words. Mr. Speaker, I'd like the record to reflect that I do not support recreational marijuana. What I am in favour of, and I think many more people in this chamber are than are willing to say so publicly, is the taxation, regulation and decriminalisation of cannabis for adult use. Mr. Speaker, the gentleman from Mercer on our first day during his nomination speech spoke of how proud he was of you when you made those remarks at the Eggs and Issues breakfast. And I was at the same breakfast and I felt the same way. And if the gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Miley, can't be on Speaker, I'm glad that you are. For those that have been here the last several years, it's obvious that you get it and that you're operating in an open, transparent, and where possible, very bipartisan way, forward-thinking. I truly believe you're genuine when you say that you want to make West Virginia great, a great place to live, work, and raise a family. That morning you also said that you're a West Virginian by choice, something we share. Unfortunately, too few people are making that choice. West Virginia's greatest export is not its coal, it's its people, and in particular its young people. Now, why I'm grateful that things are as not economically dire around here as they have been the last 4 years, everybody knows this is short-lived. We all agree that the fundamental structural issues remain with the West Virginia economy, rooted in a population of wonderful people, but who are older, sicker, poorer, less prepared and equipped with the skills to provide for themselves and their families. Mr. Speaker, we have a population problem. Our population problem is not one we can legislate, reform, or breathe our way out of. We need to import our way out. This past year, we lost 11,216 West Virginians. At that same time, Colorado gained 79,662 people. With each passing year, we get older, and there are less of us. Fewer kids in our schools, fewer people to work at the jobs that need to be done to support those that need it and can't work on their own. We need to create a place that people want to come to. Cannabis can. John Denver is famous for two songs, Take Me Home Country Road and Rocky Mountain High. I don't think that's a coincidence. Cannabis can and does literally grow like a weed on the banks of our rivers and our mountainsides, and can be cultivated easily on our reclaimed mountaintop removal sites. The DEA issued a report in 2015 indicating that West Virginia was the 5th highest producing cannabis state in the country. As my colleagues from southern West Virginia can attest, we produce almost as much cannabis as we produce coal. We get no severance tax. The reason cannabis is a gateway drug is it's illegal. The war on drugs is lost. It's about as effective as a 10-foot wall if you have an 11-foot ladder. Prohibition hasn't worked since the Garden of Eden. In states that have functional cannabis programs, the rate of overdoses goes down. Cannabis can help fix treatment and fund treatment for our drug problems, and West Virginia can be a leader in research in new and effective ways to manage chronic pain and opioid addiction before it kills another 1,000 West Virginians. Cannabis is now legal for consumption in a neighbour country on our northern border, and it's only a matter of time before it becomes legal in a neighbouring state. Altria, that makes Marlboro, invested $2 billion in a Canadian cannabis company. The company that owns Corona, Constellation Brands, has invested billions of dollars in Canopy Growth, a Canadian cannabis company. I've personally moved a long way on this issue in the last 5 years. Back when Colorado in 2014 legalized its cannabis industry, and we were in the middle of our legal prescription drug problem, I would have also stood up and applauded with vigor when our Republican governor, who campaigned on jobs, 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 stated his opposition to bringing a new industry to West Virginia. I am now concerned that if we don't act, we will act too late, and we'll have all the challenges that come with this industry and none of the benefits. Cannabis can fix the single greatest problem we have. It's our people problem, it's our population problem. West Virginia does not need to send its money to Texas to build a wall on the southern border. We need to build a wall around West Virginia to keep our people in. A wall with a great big door and says, come on in, come visit, come stay. Cannabis can help us build that wall. There is a new and growing industry in this country, and West Virginia is uniquely positioned to capitalize on it. Cannabis is the single greatest economic opportunity that West Virginia has. West Virginia needs a niche crop. Cannabis can be that crop. With that in mind, I'm pleased to offer, with a number of my Democratic colleagues, House Bill 2331, which provides for the taxation, regulation, and decriminalization of the use of cannabis for individuals over the age of 21 with a county option and a prohibition on public consumption and the growing of personal plants. Revenue from the program would go to pay for health care for state employees, education for our youth, law enforcement, drug treatment, and provide a new income stream for our cities and counties. I ask for your consideration and the support from the Republican majority. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I would bring to your attention that the cannabis bill has been referred to not one, not two, but three major committees. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you'll recall, we had a pretty extensive discussion yesterday about savings bonds, and some of the questions raised were about the taxation of the interest on those bonds. And I admitted to you that I knew enough tax law to be dangerous. That hadn't changed. But even as a technosaurus, I know how to Google, so I Googled that information. I'd like to share with you what I learned, since there didn't seem to be any definitive answers of some of those questions. Some of this information is actually not just surprising, but maybe shocking. First of all, there is no state or local income tax on savings bonds, but it is subject to federal income tax. What I found interesting is when this interest is reported, or has to be reported, and according to the website treasurydirect.gov, that's a U.S. Treasury's website, you actually have a choice as to when you can report that interest. You can choose to report it every year as it accrues, even if you haven't redeemed the bond. On the other hand, which seems more common, you can put off or defer the reporting the interest until you file a federal income tax in the year in which the first of these events occurs, okay? The first one is obvious, when you redeem the bond and receive what the bond is worth, including the interest. The second, when you give up ownership of the bond and the bond is reissued. The third, I think, is really significant and to me somewhat surprising, maybe even shocking, when the bonds stop earning interest because it has reached final maturity. If you'll recall, one of the questions, and I think was from my friend from Cabell County, is if you just wanted to put your bond away forever and defer those taxes. And apparently, under the regulations of the IRS, when that bond reaches final maturity, your interest is due. Your tax is due on that interest. That was a surprise to me. Also, one other thing, when the electronic EE bonds in a Treasury Direct account stop earning interest, they are automatically redeemed, and the interest earned is reported to the IRS. So I suppose the takeaway from all of this is if you have these bonds, it's important that you check them out, find out when the maturity date is, and determine what course of action you want to take. But apparently, once they reach that maturity date, interest is due under the tax code. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, gentleman from the 30th. My apologies.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. I had a great close plan and a mic drop and all, so I won't go back to the very beginning. But in closing, the taxation, regulation, and decriminalization of cannabis can make West Virginia great. A great place to live, work, and raise a family. And it's well past time we had a serious debate about the opportunities and potential cannabis can offer West Virginia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm done.
I'd ask unanimous consent that the remarks without the pause from the gentleman from the 30th be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Without objection, no objections heard. Further remarks by members of the House. If not, the lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcement, that the House adjourn until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Lady from the 49th moves that, subject to announcements, the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. Are there announcements? Gentleman from the 10th, Delegate Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Finance will meet Friday morning at 9 a.m. for the Department of Environmental Protection budget hearing, and at 10 a.m. with the Department of Veterans Affairs public budget hearing. Finance will meet immediately following the morning budget hearings to consider legislation. The agenda will be posted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 41st, Delegate Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Health and Human Resources will meet today at 2 o'clock in 215E. Republican members will caucus at 1:30 in the Chairman's office.
Gentleman from the 35th, Delegate Capito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on the Judiciary will meet tomorrow morning at 9:30. In the committee room, the agenda will be posted. Please note that members of the majority party, the Republican Party, will meet in the Chairman's office at 9 a.m. before the meeting, 9 a.m. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 17th, Delegate Rohrbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Seniors, Children's, and Family Issues will meet today at 1 o'clock in Government Organization.
Gentleman from the 46th, Delegate Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your subcommittee on House Bill 2004 will meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. in the Education Room.
Gentleman 28th, Delegate Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Government Organization will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the House Government Organization Committee Room. The agenda will be posted. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, Republican members of the House will caucus here in the chamber, and we will begin promptly at noon.
Gentleman from the 9th, Delegate Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Committee on Prevention and Treatment of Substance Abuse will meet today at 3:30 in the Health Committee Room. The agenda is posted.
Lady from the 51st, Delegate Fleischauer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Democratic members of the Judiciary Committee will meet at 8:30 tomorrow morning in the conference room connected to 151R.
Gentleman from the 50th, Delegate Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Democrats will caucus immediately upon adjournment in the House Gov Org Room 215E. Immediately upon adjournment. Please be on time.
Lady from the 32nd, Delegate Staggers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Democratic members of Health and Human Resources will meet at 1:45, not 1:30, in room 230 East. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 51st, Delegate Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The North Central West Virginia Roads Caucus will meet immediately following both parties' caucuses in room 252. Again, that's after both parties are done caucusing in room 252. Thank you.
Are there further announcements? Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the House is a motion by the lady from the 49th that the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The House is adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
The Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. All those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber. With those on the floor and our guests in the gallery, please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by the Reverend Father Leon Alexander of the St. John the 23rd Pastoral Center in Charleston, West Virginia. And then please remain standing as we are led in the pledge this morning by the Senator from Pleasance, Father Alexander.
And we pray. Gracious God, you look not on outward things, but upon the hidden things of the heart, out of which come the valid issues of life. In this present age of automatic, mechanical, and electronic devices, protect us from prideful displays of these symbols of power as the expressions of our chief achievements. Help us rather to serve the realities of honor unstained, of promises sacredly kept, of human dignity defended, and of a spiritual focus lifted above self-centered materialism or gain. May the work of this body representing the people of West Virginia display every hope and desire for the splendor of peace which comes from purity of heart and simple justice done. God of our fathers and God of our mothers, make it true. We ask it in your good and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. Senator from Pleasant.
Would you all please join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
West Virginia Legislature, Senate Journal, Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019.
The senator from Cabell County requests unanimous consent that further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Introduction of guests. On behalf of the Senate, it is my pleasure to welcome our honorary pages for the day. As guest of the senator from the 1st, we have Cody Wiley. Is that correct? Please stand and be recognized as your name is called. As the guest of the junior senator from the 10th, we have Megan Porticher, Destiny Walker, and as my guest, we have Hayden Hunter and Braxton Carpenter. If they would all please rise and the Senate give them a warm welcome. Thank you. You may be seated. Further introductions, the junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my honor to, on behalf of the Senate, to introduce our doctor for the day. In the rear of the chamber, we have Dr. Brian McCauley of Beckley, West Virginia. If the Senate would give him a warm welcome.
The senator from Brooke County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of myself and the senator from Ohio, I want to welcome the parents of our page, Cody. Cody comes to us from Golden Bear Country. In the rear gallery are Bonnie and Donald Willie, his parents. If the Senate can make them feel welcome.
The senator from Nicholas County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting in the North Gallery, we have Betsy Morris, who is the Executive Director of Camp Caesar. That is this year getting ready to celebrate its 100th celebration of its county fair. And additionally, with her is Mike Hall from the West Virginia Extension Service serving in Webster County. If they would please rise and if the Senate would please extend a warm welcome.
The junior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf and mine as well, I'd like to welcome to the Senate Tom Hunter and A.B. Carpenter. They are both parents here of pages we have from our district. And Hayden, his father is Tom, and Braxton's mother, Amy. And I'm not sure where they are, but we'd like to have you stand so we can recognize you. There we go. Thank you.
The senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf and on behalf of my colleague, senior senator from the 15th, and the senators from the 14th, who also represent part of Mineral County. In the North Gallery this morning, all the way at the top, Mr. President, we have 4-H students from the Frankfort School District in Mineral County, and I'd ask the Senate to give them a nice warm welcome.
The senator from Harrison County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of my senior senator from Braxton, it's my pleasure and yours to welcome 4 people who have dedicated their lives to educating our children in the public school system in the South Gallery. Please give a warm welcome to Marty Wine, Mary Booty Talbot. She's very famous. They're both retired. Judith Boyce and Pam White. Please stand and let us welcome you. Thank you.
Further introductions, the senator from Greenbrier County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Happy to introduce a parent of our pages who are here today, Ramona Potiker. If you would please stand, she's here today with Megan and Destiny from Western Greenbrier Middle School. Will the Senate please make her feel welcome?
Further introductions? Further introductions. Communications from the House.
The Clerk of the House announced the passage by that body of committee substitute for House Bill 2095, assessing the college and career readiness of 11th and 12th grade students.
Message will be received and referred to the Committee on Education.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2193, providing a specific escheat of U.S. savings bonds.
Message will be received and referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2423, prohibiting certain sex offenders from being in a supervisory position over children.
Message will be received and referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Are there further communications from the House?
No, sir.
Communications from the Executive?
There are none.
Reports from standing committees?
Your Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development has had under consideration Senate Bill 19 relating to Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and Senate Bill 259 expanding Coyote Control Program, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass, but under the original double committee references, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Dave Seipolt, Chair.
Report will be received and referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 63 relating to partial filling of prescriptions, with an amendment from the Committee on Health and Human Resources pending, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended by the Committee on Health and Human Resources, to which the bill was first referred. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Energy, Industry, and Mining has had under consideration Senate Bill 167, DEP rule relating to requirements governing water quality standards, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Respectfully submitted, Randy E. Smith, Chair.
Report will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 236, providing notice of eligibility to persons to vote after completion of punishment or pardon, and reports back to committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
That's all I have, sir.
Reports from select committees?
There are none.
Introduction of bills. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 410 through 425 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system.
The junior senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 410 through Senate Bill number 425 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Resolutions.
Senate Joint Resolution 9 by Senators Tarr, Carmichael, Mr. President, Azinger, Blair, Boso, Klein, Hamilton, Mann, Maroney, Maynard, Roberts, Rucker, Smith, Swope, Seipolt, Weld, Clements, and Hardesty. Protection of the Right to Bear Arms Amendment.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary and then to the Committee on Finance.
Senate Resolution 20 by Senators Prezioso, Beach, Seipolt, Smith, Clements, Maroney, Jeffries, Hardesty, Baldwin, Stallings, Hamilton, Palumbo, Unger, Boso, Swope, Klein, and Facemeyer, designating January 24th, 2019 as WVU and WVU Extension Service Day at the Legislature.
The senator from Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, the committee reference be dispensed with, and the resolution be put upon its adoption.
Senator from Marion County requests unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, the committee reference be dispensed with, and that the resolution be placed upon its adoption. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 20 designating January 24th, 2019 as West Virginia University and West Virginia University Extension Service Day at the Legislature.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? The senator from Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, today is the West Virginia University and the West Virginia University Extension Service Day. We have in the rear of the gallery several distinguished guests, including the president of the university, Dr. Gordon Gee. We also have Steve Bonanno, who is head of the Extension Services, and as an added attraction, we have the Mountaineer. So it's my pleasure to introduce the folks from the university and talk a little bit about what's going on at West Virginia University and the Extension Service. As you well know, this is the first and largest land-grant university in the state serving citizens of West Virginia for more than 150 years. The West Virginia University offers student programs of major research institutions at a price well below the national average. They offer more than 340 majors at the bachelor's, master's, doctoral, and professional levels, including everything from accounting to world languages. The West Virginia University Extension Service, the primary outreach arm of West Virginia University, is the front porch of WVU with the offices in each of the 55 counties. Extension agents and service specialists deliver trusted traditions and progressive solutions to citizens of West Virginia in the areas of youth development, agriculture, and family and community development. The West Virginia Extension Service 4-H Development Program, the state's largest youth organization, has given more than 75,000 youth the opportunity to expand their horizons through hands-on program and camping experiences such as building robots, helping the environment, coding as part of 4-H National Youth Science Day Challenge, traveling around the globe, and fostering healthy lifestyles. I can't begin to tell you the importance of West Virginia University in north central West Virginia, in the state of West Virginia, and the entire country. They're the economic engine in this state, and I'm just proud to be a representative of that area, and we certainly welcome the folks from the university and the Extension Service down here today. And Mr. President, I urge the adoption of this resolution.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion? Not. The question before the Senate is adoption of resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the remarks by the senator from Marion be printed to the appendix of the journal.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting the resolution.
Junior senator from the 17th moves that the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting this resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate in brief recess to present this resolution. Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. Further resolutions.
Senate Resolution 21 by Senators Beach, Baldwin, Stallings, Palumbo, Unger, Swope, Seipolt, Prezioso, and Klein, designating January 24th, 2019 as Human Resources Day at the Capitol.
The Senator from Monongalia County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference be dispensed with, and the resolution be put upon its adoption.
The Senator from Monongalia County requests unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, that the committee reference be dispensed with, and that the resolution be placed upon its adoption. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The clerk will please read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 21 designating January 24th, 2019 as Human Resources Day at the Capitol.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? The Senator from Monongalia County.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an exciting day for me that we have these folks with us here inside our chamber. As the clerk has mentioned, today is Human Resources Day at the Capitol, and it just happened to be WVU Day as well, and they weren't aware of that when they scheduled their time, so we get a 2-for-1 today. The group we have back here at the end of the chamber are young people from WVU's campus. I believe it's just WVU, correct? And these are folks with human resources who will be out in the workplace sometime soon. And they're quietly known as the people's managers because they are in just about every successful business, institution, municipality, large organizations across this country. And they go quietly about their job in an effort to enhance morale, productivity, limit job turnover, and help organizations increase performance and improve results. Human resources workers are also help the companies or organizations effectively use employee skills by providing training, development opportunities to improve those skills and increase employee satisfaction with condition. It's my pleasure to welcome these young folk to the room and their instructors there at WVU, and I ask for unanimous consent to adopt the resolution.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Not. Question before the Senate is adoption of resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Declare the resolution adopted. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the remarks by the Senator from Monongalia County be printed in the appendix of the Journal.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting the resolution.
Junior senator from the 17th moves that the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting this resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate in brief recess to present this resolution. Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. Are there further resolutions?
No, sir.
Motions? Petitions?
There are none.
Unfinished business?
Committee substitute for Senate Concurrent Resolution 4, naming U.S. Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel Dennis Ray Blankenship Memorial Road.
Question before the Senate is adoption of resolution. Is there discussion? Not. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Declare the resolution adopted. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 9, naming the U.S. Army Private First Class Winton L. Waits Memorial Bridge.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? Discussion? Not. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Declare the resolution adopted. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. Further unfinished business?
No, sir.
Bills on third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 223, authorizing Department of Commerce promulgate legislative rules. Third reading of the bill.
The question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? Is there discussion? The senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee substitute for Senate Bill 223 is, as the short title said, Commerce Rules Bundle. It bundles 8 rules. The first one was originally embodied in introduced Senate Bill 223, and it is a rule that comes from the Division of Labor relating to wage payment and collection, codified at 42 CSR 5. The second rule in the bundle comes also from the Division of Labor, relates to child labor. It's codified at 42 CSR 9. The third rule in the bundle comes from the Division of Labor. It was introduced as Senate Bill 225, and it relates to the regulation of heating, ventilating, and cooling work, and it's codified at 42 CSR 34. The third part of the bundle, the fourth rule in the bundle is SB 220, was originally SB 226. It comes from the Office of Miners Health, Safety, and Training, and these are rules governing the safety of persons employed in and around surface mines in West Virginia, and it's codified at 56 CSR 3. The fifth rule in the bundle was originally Senate Bill 227. It is also a rule that comes from the Office of Miners Health, Safety, and Training. Submission and approval of a comprehensive mine safety program for coal mining operations in the state of West Virginia, and it's codified at 56 CSR 8. The sixth rule in the bundle was originally Senate Bill 228. Comes from the Office of Miners Health, Safety, and Training, and it relates to the operation of diesel equipment in underground coal mines in West Virginia. It's codified at 56 CSR 23. What was originally SB 229 is part of the bundle. That's a rule that comes from the Division of Natural Resources, and it addresses the rules governing commercial whitewater outfitters. It's codified at 58 CSR 12. The last rule in the bundle was originally SB 230, and it's a rule that comes from the Division of Natural Resources, and it relates to Cabway-Lingo State Forest Trail System 2-year pilot project permitting ATVs, all-terrain vehicles. That is codified at 58 CSR 36. So for the new members, those rules considered individually through the rulemaking process and in subject matter committees of the Senate. Now the Senate Judiciary Committee has put them all in one bundle related to the Cabinet Secretary overseeing those agencies which have given us the rules, and we consider the bundle as a single committee substitute. And if we pass it, we'll send it to the House for that purpose. Mr. President, I'll be happy to try to answer questions about any of the rules or portions of the committee substitute. Otherwise, I urge passage of the rules bundle.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion? Not, question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? So the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than the majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk has a title amendment.
Senator Trump moved to amend the title of the bill.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Declare the title amendment adopted. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Bill 223 be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Junior senator from the 17th moves that the bill be made effective from passage and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than two-thirds of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 253, protecting consumers from automatic purchase renewal and continuous service offers.
Junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that Senate Bill 253 lay over one day with, while retaining its place on the calendar.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Further bills on third reading?
No, sir.
Bills on second reading?
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 258, establishing common law veil piercing claims not be used to impose personal liability.
The senator from Morgan County?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the committee substitute for Senate Bill 258 lie over a day, retaining its place on the calendar.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Further bills on second reading?
No, sir.
Bills on first reading. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered read a first time and advanced to second reading.
Junior senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered as having been read a first time and advanced to second reading. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Introduction of guests. The senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. And on behalf of the senior senator from the 1st District, I would like to welcome with the Ohio County 4-H group, Louis Honecker and Margaret Ball, and the rest of their group. If they could please stand. Maybe they have already left. They were here earlier. But I would like to welcome that group. I'm going to meet with them in my office later. Thank you very much.
Further introductions, the senator from Monongalia County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take a moment to introduce a special person who was here on the floor with us earlier, and obviously we couldn't introduce each one of them individually, but in the gallery here, former neighbor of mine, Professor Susan Kitchen with WVU and Human Resources. Thank you.
Further introductions? Remarks by members of the Senate. The senator from Brooke County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the word has gotten out of the important piece of legislation that this House passed out yesterday, this chamber, SB 1, something that I think that we all believe will be transformative for the state of West Virginia in being able to provide a well-trained, well-equipped workforce. I kind of wanted to make a distinction on some things that I had read yesterday after that piece of legislation was passed, and we held a press conference out in the front to discuss what we thought were going to be the benefits and effects of that bill. And something that I think that I want to address is that maybe it's being misconstrued that this is a free lunch, that this is a free program, that if you want to go to school, we're going to pay your tuition, because it's not free. I was very fortunate, Mr. President, when I came home from my deployment in 2011, I went to law school at Duquesne University, I was under the GI Bill, and that was free. They paid for my tuition, they paid for the health insurance that I was required to have by the university because I had just come back and I was a student and I didn't have health insurance. That was a free program, and that paid for the tuition for the 4 years that I went to law school. Because I went at night, it was a 4-year program instead of 3. And that was a tremendous benefit to me, and it was free. What we did yesterday is not free. What we did yesterday was we provided a system wherein an individual will apply for all of the financial aid that is possible for them to receive. And then the state of West Virginia is going to come in with that last dollar in. And so it's not free if you want to go to West Virginia Northern Community College, state of West Virginia is going to send you. We're going to take care of it. We're going to pay the tuition. We're going to pick up your health insurance if that's a tab that we got to pay as well. That's not what yesterday was about. Yesterday was about coming in with that last dollar, that last little bit that that individual didn't qualify for, that would possibly prohibit them from getting the degree or the certificate, the training that they need to get into the workforce. You all heard me talk last week that 65% of the jobs by next year are going to require some sort of post-secondary education. So that's what that program is about, being able to get that person who may not have been able to overcome that hump to get into the school, to come in when the federal aid, the private aid isn't going to, foot the entire bill. The state comes in, last dollar in, we make it happen, and that's the investment. And later on, it's going to pay dividends because it's an investment in the people. So I just wanted to address that, Mr. President, make sure that everybody knows that what we did yesterday isn't a free program. It's a system in which we invest in the people and come in and we cover what the other financial aid programs weren't able to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks by members. The senior senator from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a lighter note, I just want to say, sometimes you have things happen here in the during a session, and yesterday my glasses broke. And the one thing about in West Virginia, you have a lot of friends that sometimes really come through, and I have where I purchased my glasses. I called him yesterday, and he said, I'll meet you down, at the place, and no problem. So at 9:30 last night in Canova, I got my glasses fixed, and to Jim Rumbaugh, that is a friend, and I've known for a long time, I'll have to say thank you very, very much, because if you've ever tried to go without glasses, or when they're going a little crooked or anything, any of you that have worn glasses, you realize that it makes it a little bit more difficult. So just a warning, I will read things now better because they'll be across the line instead of down or anything like that. So watch out.
Further remarks, the senator from Monongalia County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to take a moment to recognize a group of individuals here within our midst that really goes beyond their job description, really. And the fact that we have human resources up here kind of a good time to acknowledge these folks, because each and every one of us come in contact with the clerk's office each and every day. And they do a yeoman's job of keeping us in line, making sure we have the information we need here on the floor for our presentations, for our resolutions, the hard copies, the language we need to make the motion to move forward. And they send the little tweaks out to us to, reminders and whatever. But they also did a wonderful job with this group up here in the gallery over the past few weeks, arranging the room, the conference room for these young people to meet over in the West Wing, making sure that there was some food present, that legislators were invited to attend the event. But they do a wonderful job, and folks, the clerk and their people just don't get enough acknowledgement, and it's my opportunity right now to thank them for everything they've done for us.
Very good. Further remarks, the senator from Tucker County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to be rather brief, but I want to probably surprise you, but I want to talk a little bit on roads again. It's been a week since, we had Randy's dream. And, this is something that I know the senator from my senior senator and I live with on a daily basis is we don't get a break from the roads complaints, as I'm sure the senators from Mon County also. I got a call last Friday from a 83-year-old man in Preston County who was madder than a hornet. Now, he'd been fixing these roads for the last 5 years. It was a state road by his house, and he'd been cleaning the ditch out with his garden tractor. He has a blade on his garden tractor and was cleaning these ditches out. And the state road was allowing him to go to the state road garage and get 5 gallon buckets of gravel to come back and fix the potholes on the road. Well, they told him that he couldn't have any more gravel to fix these roads. And that was enough to make him mad. But then they came with the grader and graded the center down and put it in a ditch and filled these ditches up. Now the water's run down these roads. So he was 83 years old, and I'm not going to repeat the conversation because he was that mad. And that's just, one of the many calls or emails that we get. And then I had another farmer contact me earlier this week who had went and ordered, I believe it was 40 ton of gravel to put on a dirt road, a county road or state road. He rented a farm and hauled hay back and forth, and he couldn't keep the hay on his wagon because the roads were so bad it was beating the bales of hay that would come off his wagon. So he took it on himself, got the gravel, dumped it, and spread it out with his tractor, did the road work, and the state road come to him, and we tried to get him to confess that he did it because they was going to report it as a crime because he can't work on the roads because he's not bonded or something. I'm not going to mention his name because he denied fixing it. But these are just some of the problems that we have, and both of these came from the Preston County area. Tucker County, my county, I get very few. I think I've got 3 complaints in 6 years of representing them. We have Interstate 68 that runs right through the northern end of Preston County, and I ask you to try to get off of 68 after you come across the Maryland line until you get off of 68 on the 79 in Mon County and try to find a road that's good enough to drive on. You won't find it. I mean, 68 is good, but as soon as you get off there, and that's one reason I'm against the helmet law, because I think we ought to be wearing our helmets driving these roads. And, there's just not a good road to get there. I'm sure, if you leave Charleston here and drive to the Greenbriers, say, you're not going to hit a bad road. So it's not a problem in some areas. And, people are mad. They're upset and they've had enough. And the senator from Preston and I are, come June 1st, when all the snow melts in Preston County and the potholes aren't filled up with snow, it's going to get really bad. You might hear about a lynching in one of our counties because of these roads. And, I kind of stirred up the pot last week when I came up with Randy's Dream to bring some attention to it. But these roads, they're hurting our tourism business. They're hurting, with just businesses. We have several cattle rentals and stuff that the road's going into them. People, like I said before, people come to them, love the cabins, but said they'll never be back until they fix the roads. And that's sad because people, has invested hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars in these businesses, in the same way with their state parks. And it's even hurting their education. I know a huge problem in Preston and Mon County is they've had to increase their budget for school bus repair. They've got buses in the garage all the time because something, busted, there's a busted tire, tie rods, axles. They've begged, the Board of Education has begged us to do something with the roads because it's increased their budget so much for maintenance on their school buses. And I've thought about it. I woke up the other morning, believe it or not, at 2:30 in the morning, couldn't get back to sleep because I was thinking about road repair. I came up with Randy's 3 R's. It's Randy's 3 R's to radical road recovery. And these are just some ideas. I'm going to take some flack for some of these. These aren't etched in stone. I'm working on a bill to introduce. But we're in a state of emergency, honestly, in our roads in West Virginia, especially some of our counties in the northern part where gas production is going on and where we've just let them go so long. And one of the ideas I kicked around was taking $200 million from the rainy day fund and to put to emergency secondary road repairs, not primary, but secondary road repairs across the state. I've even kicked around the idea of 1% of severance tax or additional severance tax for natural gas for the next 5 years, which is supposed to be the time period for the construction because that's where a lot of the problem's coming from. I'm not a big tax guy, but drastic times calls for drastic measures. And put a limit on it 5 years when the construction done. They can add it as construction cost. Implement a core maintenance plan that requires ditching, mowing, and trimming before any repair is done on any of these roads. Because I traveled several roads last weekend because I had a list of about 20 roads that they wanted me to come and look at in different areas, and I covered some of them going back. And the biggest problem was water was running down the road. The ditches were full and it was washing up the pavement. Now they'll come back this spring, patch the roads, and let the water go. And I think we need to, if we have to put it in law where they have to do core maintenance on these roads before they do any work on them, then that's what we need to do. And it needs to be done before the repairs are made. And I'd also like to see us require a committee of non-management highway workers to be assembled to share ideas, because I talk to highway workers all the time, and I'm sure all of you do, that'll say, I can't believe you allow them to do this, or I can't believe you allow them to. The one guy came up with an idea, said, we need skid steers, because that's the new, really the new tool in construction and everything, because they're so handy. You can get the attachments for setting poles, cleaning ditches, mowing, whatever you want to do with these skid steers. And he said, we're buying these big high lifts and stuff to do stuff that we could save $200,000-$300,000 on equipment, and it'd be something more practical. But nobody will listen to them. But these are the people that's boots on the ground that sees what the problems is, and I urge Secretary Tom Smith, to come up with a program like this to let the people that has the boots in the ground or actually has no say in how things are done, but they're the ones taking all the cussings. They're the ones that's getting, because them are the ones the public can get to. So I feel sorry for them. And last is to change the road formula. Our road formula, how we fund the roads, is outdated, and it needs to include the road conditions when it comes to funding too, because we're funding roads that doesn't need paved, but we have to because of the road formula. So that's another thing. If we put it in this bill, like I said, I'm working on a bill now. It's in bill drafting. It'll be getting back out, and it's going to be some pretty radical stuff. That I'm a pretty radical person sometimes, but the road formula is something that we really need to look at and ask the Secretary to look at to put these the road conditions in it. And so I'm asking the governor to please, because this is by far the major concern of most constituents in this state, is our secondary roads, because they travel them every day. They travel them to get to work. They go to work to pay their taxes. They travel them the school buses, and it's a huge problem. And I know you're probably going to get sick of me, if you already aren't sick of me harping about the roads, but I'm telling you, it's something that the people are watching. The people want results, and I'm asking you, Mr. President, to get with the governor. I don't care where he gets the money. Like I said, if he can get it from Donald Trump, more power to him. I'll throw my whole radical road plan away if he can get the money, federal money. But I'm just asking that we stay on this and push it. And we might have to do some radical stuff to get it done, but like I said, radical problems takes radical means sometimes to solve them. And I appreciate your support. I appreciate your time to listen to me, and thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks, the senator from Greenbrier County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was frankly hoping that somebody else would speak. It's a tough thing to follow my buddy, the radical senator from Tucker. I ran for office to try and help people and solve problems like everybody else here, Mr. President, like you. And, I think we did that yesterday. I think we offered a positive solution to help solve our workforce problem. We've got another urgent workforce problem that's occurring right now in West Virginia that needs our attention. There are a significant number of federal workers who live and work here in the state of West Virginia, and they're in a tough spot right now. I just want to share real briefly with my colleagues some of the folks from our districts that are federal workers in a tough spot right now. 2,500 employees of the FBI in North Central West Virginia, 1,000 employees of the Bureau of Prisons and Department of Justice all across the state, 400 members of the Coast Guard and Homeland Security. And you've got Green Bank Observatory, the Federal Aviation Administration, National Parks and Forests. It's over 6,000 over 6,000 federal employees total here in West Virginia. So if we're here to solve problems and help people, which I know that's why we're all here, what can we do? Well, Mr. President, I brought an idea to you and your finance chair last week, and I appreciate very much you were open to that and willing to listen to it. And the idea is real simple, and that's that the state work with banks, with private banks, to guarantee loans for those federal workers that are in a tough spot right now under certain circumstances. So that bill's been drafted. It's been signed off on by the Treasurer's Office. I would invite my colleagues to sign on to it too, so that we can provide a solution for families in this tough spot right now. These folks are about to miss another paycheck, and I know absolutely none of us want that to happen. You know, what's going on is out of our control, but this is something that is in our control that we can do to help. So I would invite my colleagues to join me in that effort, and we have a sense of urgency about this workforce problem. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Further remarks? Further remarks? Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will try to be brief. Today we're going to have a monumental education reform bill that I would like to make a remark about. I know there's a lot of heartburn amongst members, amongst citizens across the state regarding this bill, and I understand that. You know, education is a hot button topic. There's a lot of opinions on how things should be done or things that shouldn't be done. Yesterday, I think we took a big step forward. The reality is there's never going to be a piece of legislation that this body or any future body, big or small, will ever do that will completely fix the education system in this state. And that's because you go to areas, I talked to my senator from Boone, friends of mine that are in teaching system in Van that told me that out of 24 kids, not a single parent worked. And a lot of education has to be at home. You can take economics and different things and play into it, but a lot of that comes at home, and that's got to be fixed more than anything you're going to do with an education bill. The bill we did yesterday, I think, goes a big step forward in maybe providing jobs, providing hope, providing futures, not only for the kids, but for the parents of those kids. When you better their lives, you're going to better the lives of the kids. And that should be the focus. This bill that's going to be before us today, that everybody will finally get to review thoroughly, and I'm sure the Education Council will go over thoroughly, is going to break this down. And again, there's going to be things that every member in this body likes. There's going to be some things they don't like. The only thing I would ask is that before you dig your heels in the sand and say, you know, I'm going to be against A, B, and C, look to see how you can make it better first. Look to see if there's anything you can possibly think of that may make that ideal better, because everything contained in this bill has worked somewhere or multiple places, and that's why it's there. So maybe it's not the right fit, or maybe the exact details isn't the right fit, but what I would ask is just take a look at it and see if you think you can make it better, see if you can fix it first before we just adamantly say no, because I think the only thing that is wrong, we've got the brightest kids. These guys in front of us, I'm sure, have futures that I would put up second to none. We've got the best teachers. I would put them up against any teacher in the country, but our system's still broken. We're still finishing last, 47th to 50th place. So in my opinion, the only thing I think that we can truly do wrong is nothing at all. We've got to try, and it's got to start somewhere. This isn't going to be the end-all, be-all, whether the bill gets through or not. I hope it does. I hope a lot of the components in it get through, but and I hope they get fixed and they get made better than maybe what it's in there now. But I would just ask that each member take a long, hard look at that, and let's send out the best bill that we possibly can.
Further remarks, the senator from Logan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am the newest member of this body, and I'd initially planned not to ever rise and speak for the first couple of weeks, but that didn't go so well. But I am going to try to be objective on this piece of legislation. I don't know how objective I'll be, but I want to share something with you. I can only share what I personally know. In 2016, I decided to run for public office in Logan again after setting out for 18 years. I served 2 terms in the 90s because I decided to run for office because we were under state takeover. We couldn't even manage our own affairs in Logan County because we did not exhibit the proper methodology and discipline to do so. I paid $5 to run for the Board of Education, 1994, $5. I went to the State Department of Education. I said, what do we have to do to get our school system back? We made the tough decisions. We became fiscally responsible. We got our school system back in 2 years. Fast forward to 2016, Logan County had burned through a large amount of cash, made bad decisions, poor judgments, and I decided to run. When I was sworn in as president of the board, I put these words on the wall at the Board of Education office, and this is what I want you to listen and consider. It basically says this, it says, our decisions impact children. Now, the reason it's all it says in Logan's because the decisions I made on the local board could only impact the children because I had to follow the state code and state law. But now, maybe the good Lord has a time and a place for everyone and an intended purpose. But now I stand here somewhere where I never thought imagined possible, on the floor of this great institution. Now, our decisions collectively impact children, teachers, service personnel, cooks, bus drivers, custodians, special needs aides, our administrators. It affects far more people in a far greater reach. You cannot change the complexion of education in one fell swoop. It is impossible. All I would ask is that we try to be professional, courteous, find solutions, and let's change that. Our decisions impact K-12 education as we know it now. I've got real concerns. There'll be a time and a place to address those. But we've got to be focused on what we're trying to do, and that's help make positive outcomes for our people, our children, and our employees. Thank you.
For the remarks, the junior senator from the 4th.
You know, I really hadn't planned to speak on this today, but you motivated me to speak a little bit. I agree with you that you really can't do what this state needs in one foul swoop. And I don't think we have been doing it in one foul swoop. I tell people all the time, before I would ever run, before I ever considered running for an office, is the school systems, in order to get them fixed here, what you have to do is you have to fix the economy. You don't move to the slums because of their schools. Now, I'm not saying we're slums, but I'm telling you, we've been a destitute state for a while. We stepped into a deficit of $450 million not too long ago. That required incredible sacrifice. Some of that sacrifice was evident just yesterday in finance. When we were in there in finance, listening to DHHR and all the needs of this state, most of the needs that were in Finance Committee, we were seeing with helping victims of sexual assault, helping foster children, helping special needs population that we can't get the workers because we can't pay them enough to actually get to them. So in order to fix education, here's where I'm at for me. And I come at this from having 3 children. I've got a child with special needs. And then I have 2 other children who are incredibly bright, but very bright in different ways. One of those children works for everything they get. All right, so straight A student, but bust their hump. The other one could sit in the classroom, crack a book while he's reading and absorb what the teacher's saying, never bring homework home and crack straight A's. The educational demands for those 3 children are incredibly diverse. I've been so blessed that because of the zip code that I can afford, I can choose what happens for those kids. We have incredible school choice in West Virginia if you can afford the right zip code. So what I would encourage is that when you see this bill, because I tell you what, there's a lot of heart in this bill, and it is incredibly, it is focused on kids. It is absolutely focused on kids. We've been failing our kids. And we don't have to. I agree that we have the best and brightest, both in teaching and in children. But we have a system that does not let them reach their potential. That's evident by having to do remedial classes in universities. It's evident by, I can tell you some of the professional programs that I've sat on committees in healthcare, and we have schools in this state that might accept 50 to 60 students in a program. I sat on one of the committees that helped establish a curriculum for a professional program. Was very proud to do so. And I'm not going to call out names or institutions here. But within a couple years, I realized, you know what? Out of the 50-some students that we're running through this per program, 5 of them are from West Virginia. And I was upset. So, now, granted, this isn't the only institution that stayed off in this program, and if you go to the other ones, they're about the same. About a 10% ratio of West Virginia students get accepted into our West Virginia schools for a professional program. And it's because it's set up competitively. We don't just compete in West Virginia. We compete across the country. In fact, we compete across the world. The reason it was 5% is because of the remedial situation that we have. Our students could not compete with students across the country. That's not a small problem. So how do you fix it? So for me, it's simply stated, but not simply done. Simply stated is first we have to get a lot of the social side of this fixed, and you fix the socioeconomic side of it with jobs. Right? That's a big part of it. We have, as a body, as a legislature, I would say I applaud what this legislature has done to fix jobs. Well, 11,000 new jobs added, I think, when the December reports come out. We have such a breakdown in this system because our teachers have to be parents. Jobs create value for people. They value for themselves. And before you'll value someone else, you have to value yourself. Before you can have a nuclear family, so you don't have to rely on a teacher to raise your kid, you need an identity, you need an occupation. We're doing that. Then you have to have occupation available. You need workforce, right? So with less than half of our able-bodied workforce working, we have jobs available everywhere, but we can't fill them. We just passed the Senate Bill 1 from this side, and I sure hope the House jumps right on board with that and gets it through, and the governor signs it just as fast as he can, because we can fix a lot of that workforce issue with that bill. We cannot sit here and do nothing with public education. It's time to invest where it needs to be invested in. It's time to take choice away from what zip code you can afford and have it for everyone. I implore you that when you look at this, you think that you're not putting your kids in a situation where they have to sacrifice their future to raise their kids here in West Virginia. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks? Further remarks? Miscellaneous business. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pending announcements, I move the stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Are there announcements? The senior senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Finance Committee will meet today at 3 p.m. The budget hearings will be on the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. That's Subcommittee B. But then we're also going to be running bills after the presentation. I'll need the full committee there. I think there's like 6 of them on the agenda, and it's been posted.
The senator from Jefferson County.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Education Committee will meet today at 2 p.m. in room 451M. The agenda has been posted.
Senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Judiciary will meet today at 3 o'clock p.m. and tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., both meetings in the Judiciary Committee Room, West Wing.
Senator from Nicholas County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Government Organization will meet this afternoon at 2 p.m., room 208 West.
Senator from Marshall County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Health will meet today at 1 p.m. in 451M.
Senator from Tucker County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. Your Committee on Energy will meet today at 1 o'clock and 208 West. Thank you.
Further announcements. Further announcements. Not, question before the Senate is shall the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m.